Call of Duty is my go-to popcorn entertainment that I look forward to each year. The wealth of different campaigns usually provides a memorable experience, whether it is the traditional setting of the first few titles, the action movie setting of the Modern Warfare trilogy, along with the mystery provided by the first two Black Ops games. While I commend Treyarch in trying something different for their story in Black Ops 3, the story execution was a mess, but thankfully the action was still solid. Black Ops 4 was an insult from a story perspective, as it did not feature a campaign at all. One of the best parts of the first two Black Ops games are the rich and engaging stories. These narratives feel more involved, and Black Ops 2 really pushed what a COD campaign could do with optional side missions and choices that affected how the story would play out. Which is why I was excited to hear that Treyarch was aiming to go back to the proper Black Ops setting and make a game set between Black Ops 1 and 2. Raven Software was going to lead the campaign, and they have a strong history of delivering many great games, and they wanted to bring back that sense of choice into this new campaign. Along with this, Treyarch was bringing some new elements to their Zombies mode that look to keep that beloved mode fresh. This video will cover both the campaign and Zombies mode of Cold War. I will not be covering the multiplayer in this video for a few reasons. I have covered the multiplayer in both my alpha and beta videos, and while I had a good time with it, I have not been able to pull myself away from Zombies. So my plan is to potentially do an update review later on next year, especially with the developers continually releasing new content going forward. Now let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my review for Black Ops Cold War. This first mission is a great introduction to the campaign and a great example of why I generally love the Call of Duty campaigns. The first mission gives us just enough context about the mission, and then we are thrown right into it. We see some familiar faces and we feel right at home with this mission. From a gameplay perspective, we engage in several close corridor shootouts. This is all expected action and done really well here. While on the rooftops, we get introduced to the new mechanic in Cold War. You can take enemies as human shields and use this as a means to give yourself some cover if you're under heavy fire. This doesn't really change up the action, but it is a welcome addition. My favorite part about this is how you can pull a grenade on the body and then kick them towards a bunch of enemies. This is just as awesome as it sounds to actually pull off. A nice surprise towards the end of the first section are some of the dialogue options that you get while you are interrogating an enemy. Along with this, you have some choices that affect which different versions of the endings you might get. Following this, the first level is then bookended with an exciting set piece. On the whole, this entire mission is a great example of why I love Call of Duty, especially when it's done this well. The story hooks you, the characters are likable, the action is intense, the inclusion of dialogue options and choices creates more urgency to the situation, and the final set piece brings the spectacle. It is generally rare for games to start off this good and hook you right away, and I really want to commend the entire development team on a job well done for this first mission. And thankfully this same quality is extended to the rest of the campaign. Now, following the first mission, you get to create a character profile for your new character Bell. During this, you can pick two different perks to aid you throughout the campaign. You can give yourself stuff like faster reloads and more health. I really like this small addition as it provides some sense of customization for your campaign character. The guns do feel and sound pretty good here. Some of the sound effects are better than others, but do not expect the meaty gun sounds from Modern Warfare 2019. Having said that, you get some nice impact with your shots here, and the shotguns have some nice pushback. Another nice touch is how many of the missions will give you some options on what weapons you want to start out with by having some different weapons presented to you at the start of many missions. While the open combat takes up the bulk of the action, there is a surprising amount of optional stealth parts as well. This allows the action to have some nice ups and downs when it comes to the intensity. The stealth changes up the action and allows you to take in the atmosphere that feeds into the cloak and dagger nature of the first Black Ops game that this game is going for. Some of the missions will provide you with side objectives to complete that feed into that that choice-based system that they are going for in the story. There isn't a bad mission out of the bunch. There are some expected rail shooting stages and vehicle sequences as well. I really love the one where you get to control a helicopter. This is a great sequence of player empowerment. One of the campaign's best missions consists of you being undercover, and it doesn't have any shooting until the second half of the mission. This section gives you some nice freedom in how you approach it. For example, you need to get past a checkpoint to proceed, but there's a guard. You can find a proper way to get by, or you can find a way to bribe him, or you can even crawl through the vents if you can find them to knock them out. There's some appreciated problem solving for this area, and it helps to build up the explosion of action that happens in the second half with an excellent finish to this mission. A welcome surprise is how the game does feature some side missions to complete. The unique aspect about the side missions is how you need to do some detective work to complete them fully. You will find evidence in the main missions, and these can assist you in the side missions. You will need to do some problem solving, and you can't look up the answers online since the answers are randomized. This was a nice addition as it helped to feed into that cloak and dagger nature. I will keep this section spoiler free when it comes to the story, and the story does deliver that quality that you would want, and it feels in line with Black Ops 1 and 2. Adler is a welcome addition to the cast and takes center stage for most of the story. It is great to see Woods and Mason back in action, but they take more of a side role. The game does pay respect to these characters, and they get some nice moments to shine here as well. The main narrative involves trying to stop a big threat. The bulk of the story is about trying to find this one individual who is responsible for that threat. The threat is built up as a mystery, and it's very engaging to unravel the many twists and secrets that the game holds. The main bad guy is not a compelling character like in Black Ops 2, but more of a target for the main narrative to focus on. Overall, the story feels more like it's Black Ops 1, but with some of the choices from Black Ops 2. A large amount of the choices are left for the final set of missions, and these types of choices give some nice replay value as well. In one case, you make one choice that alters where the final mission takes place. The campaign is excellent, and I did have some flaws that I encountered along with some additional comments that I wanted to talk about. I did have the campaign freeze on me at one point, but outside of this, it ran perfectly fine on the PS5. I really like the inclusion of the side missions and how they require you to do some detective work to complete them, but it was disappointing to see that the game only featured 2 side missions. This made the side missions feel like a unique thing that they wanted to try out, but they didn't really get to fully explore it here. I think including 4 over 2 side missions would have helped. It is important to note that both Mason and Woods do not have their same voice actors from the prior games. While the new actors do a fine job, it is disappointing to not have the original actors for consistency of the series. What is worse is how the original voice actor for Woods stated that he was never asked to come back. My next point is more of a talking point than really a flaw. While I found the campaign to be pretty awesome, I do wonder if this entire story should have been separate from the established Black Ops 1 and 2 timeline. Mason and Woods are in more of a support role, with Adler really running the show. Thankfully, Adler is an enjoyable character that fits right in, but since we know that Mason and Woods cannot die because they are both in Black Ops 2, I wonder if this entire story should have been separated from this timeline and dealt with completely new characters, especially since this game ends on a note that hints at a potential Cold War 2, and we don't really have much time to play with before we get to the start of the Black Ops 2 campaign with Mason. If they make a sequel to the story that follows Cold War and leads into Black Ops 2 and it's done really well, then I have no problem with it. Overall, this is a stellar campaign that delivers a compelling narrative and exciting action. Thankfully, the campaign was not where I saw this game to be buggy, but this was something that occurred a lot during the zombies portion of the experience. Cold War's version of zombies stays true to the established formula while also making some nice additions to it as well. Essentially, your goal is to try and last as long as you can in either co-op or solo play. As you kill enemies, you will gain money, and the money can be used to buy new weapons, perks, or upgrading your weapons. A lot of this stuff will look familiar to veterans of the series. You can buy guns off the wall, use the mystery box, and buy perks that give you faster reloading and more health. There are some nice additions to what defeated zombies will provide you, along with how some of the upgrades will work. When zombies are defeated, they may drop different items like a variety of grenades, monkeys, and even healing stims. They will drop more rare items like your first bar of body armor or even smaller pieces of armor to replace your broken parts. This goes with the secondary type of currency at play with this new version of zombies. Defeated zombies will also drop 2 types of salvage for you. Salvage can be used to improve the power of your weapon. The game uses the traditional standard colors that you would see in a looter shooter or an action RPG. The salvage can be used to improve or restore your body armor as well, and the rare type of salvage can be used to get some kill streaks. You can use these to set up a turret, buy a self-revive, or even call in a chopper gunner. I really like the addition of the salvage, especially with it being another means to provide you with upgrades during the match. The weapon power system feels like COD's way of trying to incorporate the current trend of looter shooter type mechanics into the game. With zombies originally having a means to improve the power of your weapons with the Pack-a-Punch, improving the weapon power level with salvage feels like an extension of that. Picking up useful items and grenades from enemies is fun and adds a layer of randomness to the action. And lastly, I really like the addition of the kill streaks that you get to use, especially with the chopper gunner that is very useful in a tight spot.
Chopper gunner close air. Hostile frag.
One thing that I want to make note of is that this version of zombies is very similar to the prior version with additions, so do not expect this to change your mind if you didn't really like this mode before. The map provided at launch is pretty good. I really like that there's a couple open spaces along with some underground areas to give you some good location variety. There are bosses that are thrown in as well to help keep the action fresh. The trick with these fights is how the bosses will split into 2 after you beat their first form. In Black Ops 3, the zombies mode there allowed you to level up your guns along with adding some personalization to them with different attachments and camos. This returns in Cold War, but the progression between zombies and multiplayer are tied together. This was used in Modern Warfare 2019 where multiplayer and Spec Ops were tied together, but the experience points provided during Spec Ops were so small that you were forced to play multiplayer to really level up any of your guns. I was worried that this tied progression would be an issue with Cold War. Thankfully, the progression is much better balanced here. I played almost exclusively in zombies, and I was leveling up at a regular rate along with unlocking new attachments for my guns. Along with this, there are 2 quality of life improvements that I am happy to see in this mode. Now, I do not think this was included in a prior version of zombies, but now you can host a private match of zombies with friends online, and you can pause the game at any point, providing you and your friends with the option to take a break if needed. This is a simple yet wonderful feature, especially since zombie matches can easily last longer than an hour. Another cool feature is how you can turn on a music player for the zombies mode and the multiplayer and play Cold War's soundtrack during the action. This is another small feature but greatly appreciated, especially since the music is awesome in this game. I would love to see them add tracks from World at War and the prior Black Ops games to this as well. Probably my favorite feature of this iteration is how you can actually escape and technically beat the map. In prior versions of zombies, you would try to survive as long as you can and complete the fun Easter eggs, but you could never really beat the map. With the option to evac from the map, you get that satisfaction in actually beating the map. After completing the first 10 waves and every 5 after, the game gives you the option if you want to escape. If you choose this, then you need to go to the evac location, kill all the enemies within the area before the time runs out. This means the game gives you the option to escape, but you need to earn it. This is really intense and satisfying to pull off since the game throws a huge horde at you. My favorite version of zombies is probably the maps from World at War, as I love these maps and the funny characters from that game. I have always enjoyed the mode throughout the years, but I have been wanting the developers to do something a bit different to help keep this mode fresh. Being able to evac is probably my favorite addition to zombies. Along with this, you earn upgrades where you can improve the different perks that you use, ammo modifications, and your proficiency with different weapon classes. Through earning these upgrades, especially for zombies mode and the tied progression for your weapons, you always walk away with earning something while playing. Before I get into the main performance-based flaws of zombies, I want to praise the new mode found found within this zombie package. There is a new mode called Onslaught. This is a 2-person mode and it uses the multiplayer maps. The goal is to stay within the area of this orb. You will need to defeat waves of zombies, and every 3 waves there's a boss. With each new wave, the orb will move and you need to move with it, because if you're outside of the orb zone, then you will take damage. This allows you to get some nice variety in the different locations you will fight in around the map. The small chunks are perfect for 2 players and keeps the action in your face. Essentially, this mode works like a traditional horde mode and is a lot of fun. I do wish that there was a 4-player option, and I hope more multiplayer maps are added into the rotation. Overall, I'm really enjoying my time with the new zombies, but it is really disappointing from a polished standpoint. This might be the buggiest Call of Duty that I have ever played. While the campaign felt very polished, the zombies is very inconsistent. I spent most of my time playing on the PS5 and I ran into several issues. One of the most annoying aspects about the game is how I will invite friends into my party to start a match, and sometimes they will need to attempt to join my party several times before they are actually in. And on top of this, I will try to start a private match and the game will just throw everyone out, so I need to start the process over again. This happens about 50% of the time whenever I'm trying to start a match. I really like how I can play on the PS5 and play with my friends who are on the PS4, but I'm currently unable to join my friends during a zombie mission while it is in progress. After a few attempts, they can join me in my game, but I can never join them. There are other smaller issues like the game locking up whenever I'm upgrading my zombie items before a match. Now, all of this stuff is annoying, but I could stomach it as long as the game operated fine while in a match. For the most part, I would say that 70 to 80% of my matches had no issues. But the longer I played, more issues popped up. One of the most annoying is the glitch with the ray gun. The ray gun is one of the most powerful weapons in the game. If you have the ray gun and you are downed and then revive, there is a chance that the game will not let you change back to your ray gun, and the game will then not let you equip a secondary weapon as well for the rest of the match. This is really annoying as it handicaps the player and can ruin the entire match. It would be one thing if you lost the ray gun through a glitch but could buy a secondary weapon, but having the glitch remove the ray gun and not allowing you to equip a secondary weapon is just the worst. Another annoying glitch is how one of my friends just fell right through the map and could not escape it until he moved to a spot where he took enough damage to die. I understand that games can have some launch week issues, but this is one of the largest franchises in the gaming industry and they make a new one each year. The network and issues with dropping or disconnecting from matches should not be an issue. The other bugs probably came from the game needing more polish from the rumored tough development cycle. This might be the buggiest Call of Duty I have played, but thankfully many of these issues can be patched. While the game should have launched in a better state, my hope is that they can patch this to make it more stable, because zombies when it's working is an absolute blast. Before we move to the conclusion, I do want to highlight the excellent soundtrack by Jack Wall for this game. He is the man responsible for the first 2 Mass Effects, along with the excellent Black Ops 2 soundtrack. He delivers the same level of quality here. Here are a few tracks from the game. Black Ops Cold War is very fun from its excellent campaign and its buggy yet addictive zombies mode. When it comes to the campaign, I was happy to return back to the setting along with the developers incorporating in some of those choice sequences that were featured in Black Ops 2. While I wish that the gun sounds could be more on par with the meaty sounds from Modern Warfare 2019, the gun sounds here are generally good and have some nice impact. Like one of the better Call of Duty campaigns, it provides a wealth of variety in shooting situations along with enjoyable one-off sequences that break up the action. I really love the addition of being able to escape the map during zombies. This allows you to actually beat the map and not feel like you are continually losing, though this is also an area that needs much more refinement from a polished perspective. While I am having a blast with the game, I cannot ignore the stability issues that are found within the zombies mode. If you are planning on trying this game for zombies, then I might recommend that you wait a few weeks or for a sale so that the developers can hopefully patch this stuff out. The campaign is excellent, and when Zombies is working, it's a blast. Either way, give this a rental now or try this out later on a sale. Thank you very much for watching.